Steve Lowis has been performing and writing music for some 25 years. Alongside that, Steve Lowis is a registered mental health nurse, been practicing for the last 15 years, and today he talks to us about the relationship between music and mental health. Over the years, Steve Lowis has given so much back to the Southampton music scene and the culture in this city, putting on events, creating opportunities for other musicians to shine and showcase their talents. He talks about how it's all about bringing people together. Steve just so beautifully and brilliantly articulates what music means to him and to so many other people. This podcast really resonated with me as a performer and as a musician. It made me feel excited and passionate about performing, and just really encapsulates the beauty of music and what it brings. I can't wait for you guys to hear this podcast. So without no further ado, my name's Luke Garnes and this is The Independent Musician. Tap, clap, sing along, but please keep it on beat. So hey Steve, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me so early on this Sunday morning. I know we've both got our cups of Yorkshire at the ready, and
Yep.
Yeah, it's great to have you here.
Lovely to be here, Luke, on your
Good
first
stuff.
podcast.
Good stuff, yes, the first one of many. So welcome to all you viewers that are joining in as well. So anyway, so the first question I want to ask you really, Steve, and then we're going to, of course you can tell us all about you and what you do. But first question really is, what does music and being a musician mean to you? Bit of a philosophical question really, but yeah.
At this time in the morning. Yeah, well, I mean, music's been a huge part of my life. It's been like, I think it's ever since I started, I'm going to take it back to like when I moved down from Yorkshire down to a new school, and basically I'd been playing guitar a little bit with a friend up in Yorkshire. I managed to pull out like an old tape during lockdown and stuff. I bought like one of these cassette tape players where you can listen back to old tapes and kind of put them onto your computer and that kind of stuff, and found some recordings of me when I was sort of playing and learning guitar basically with my mate Phil, and I must have been 12 or 13 at the time. So it was all kind of basically mostly Oasis songs and Green Day, and then sort of from then, obviously when I moved down to Wokingham, which started a new school in year 9 of school. So I sort of had to make new friends and stuff, and I was just thinking about this recently, like just how without music, it really. I didn't really stand out when I first kind of got to the school. I was just some blonde-haired Yorkshire lad, and everybody all had their own friends and stuff, and I played some guitar and stuff, but I met my friend Abraham, who started school at the same time, and then we started up a band called Delirium, but by sort of the end of the 2 years of obviously school, so in year 11 we played. We'd written a few songs and stuff, and we had a drummer and guitarist, and played at my leaving ball and stuff, and it just kind of, it gave me an identity.
Nice.
It gave me sort of something that I was really good at, and it allowed me then to put on some events and stuff as well. So I was doing events in the Wokingham Village Hall in Embrook, and
at what age?
That was, I was probably 16, 17 by then.
Wow.
So I put on like a few bands and stuff from the local area, and my brother's band, he was in a band called Circus Act, who were like a punk band, and I played bass on one of their in the studio at Riverside Studio, I think it was called, and put on a was it Riverside? No, it wasn't Riverside, can't remember. But we put on, I sort of played bass on one of their tracks, and so I actually learnt bass first, and then acoustic where I just taught myself really. So,
Nice.
but yeah, we had some really good like little all day kind of events down at this village hall. Sold tickets, and when we got old enough, people would bring cans of beer in and stuff, and it was great. So it gave me an identity. It gave me kind of a purpose to, just to connect really, and just to connect with, with different people, and obviously something I really enjoyed, and it's kind of ever since then. It's kind of just, not obviously you don't realise at that kind of age, what that it might sort of become something that you do a lot more.
Yeah, sure.
But it's always been something that I've really linked to, and I guess it's just because I just love the social aspect of it, as well as and just being able to share music, write something new and then share it and see people enjoy it or not enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a two-way thing, isn't it? Yeah. So
so I mean and then I started playing in the pubs and doing a couple of hour sets and stuff in the pubs, and still play some of the songs, the cover songs that I used to play then now. So it's
Well, that's awesome, because I think you've perfectly answered that question, because you spoke about it giving you identity, purpose, a passion, sort of like giving you kind of what you want to kind of do in terms of socialising with friends, and kind of just tying it all together. So that's brilliant, really, and people will be really interested to hear, I think, what it does mean to a musician as well, to be a musician, and why they've got into it. So that's great. So just going back to the pandemic, what was it like for you being an independent musician at that time?
Well, I think for me, it's a big part of my it's still a big part of my identity, a big part of my life. So to have that, removed, because you can't go out and put the events on as well as play them and stuff, and it's it for me, it just sort of I don't know, I kind of really just lost that sense of purpose. Just felt like something was missing. And until I started playing, getting back out again, I kind of hadn't really realised how much I really missed it. So I could have used it as a time to write some new stuff or get creative, but I just completely lost that creative spark, and I didn't pick up the guitar. Didn't seem to be any. I don't know. I just really lost that. The want to do it.
And would you say that comes from the fact that you said about before that you enjoy the social aspect of the music and getting out there, performing in front of people, just kind of like spreading that joy, if you like, through your performance and through your music? Do you think it's because that part was completely gone, that kind of just demotivated you a little bit?
Yeah, and again, I didn't realise that until sort of we came out of the lockdown, and I started going out and playing live again. That I think it's made me realise that the reason I do it, and the reason I've written songs, there is that personal enjoyment of writing a song and getting it sort of recorded or something, and then putting it out, or writing a new song and then going to an open mic and sort of playing it and people giving you feedback. So obviously music does that, and songwriting does that for you. But when I do play a lot of sort of cover sets of songs that I really like, and I've done. I think I've got a pretty decent taste in music, quite an eclectic taste. So I've kind of learnt songs that are from all sorts of different genres and over the years, and so you get people engaged of all ages. So when you're playing live and you're sort of looking around and sort of seeing people, like, oh, this is a great tune, then that really sort of just fills you with kind of like joy that you just keep, and motivation keeps you going. And
Keep going, yeah.
You've been to some of my shows, and it's like
Yeah.
I'll just they'll ask me to book me for a couple of hours, and then I'll play 3 hours, and I just keep going because the energy's there.
But the one thing I would say from seeing you perform at your shows is that you've got this ability to like read the audience as well, and because you have such a massive repertoire of material, like you can see what's going well and just like flick through, and you've got a tune for this person, it just brings everyone together, so so I think that's definitely another skill.
You play to the room, that's the term, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, play to the room.
But again, it's there's that whole thing of that connection between you and the audience, and you and others, and just people you've never met before, and they you have the ability to be able to, like, there's nothing else really that brings people together in sort of the auditory way, and and the visual way, obviously, but to really connect somebody from one person to the next. And people come up to you at the end, and they're like, it's like they've known you for years, and actually you've never met them before, and
it's
so
like,
I've met a lot of people through it.
Yeah, it's like you're a friend for life after they see you perform, sort of thing.
Just because you've played an Ed Sheeran song that you like, or which I've never done actually, but
Yeah, sure.
But you can see that, and I feel that when I go and see artists that I really enjoy, and it's like that thrill when you get to sort of meet them at the end of the show, and you like walk up to them, and you're like, hey, like, and you're going at it with like, I've known you for years because I've listened to your music for years. Yeah. But actually, they might be a complete and utter idiot, and then you don't want to be, they just blank you or something, and you're like, oh, okay. So it's I always find it's really good it's that engagement that you get with people that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
They'll come up to you and you'd like, hey, thanks so much. It's really, really nice of you to that you've enjoyed my my set and stuff. Like, I think there's a big part of it.
I've never once seen you just finish a show, get your guitar and get out. Like, you always stick around for at least like an hour afterwards. Yeah. You want to have a beer, you want to chill, you want to talk to people. And I think that's what it's about, because otherwise, I mean, what are we doing really as musicians and performers? Like, if we're just going to turn up, perform, and then get out, because it's not, some people might see this as a job, but it's like a passion, you know what I mean? And engaging, meeting people, sharing something, because that's what we're doing. When you're performing, you're opening yourself up. And like, even myself, when I'm on percussion or whatever, like, I'm not singing or nothing, but I feel like I'm giving something out. You know, and that's what it's about. So that's
and just seeing. I mean, in terms of the pandemic and the lockdown and stuff, it's also the fact that that's had an effect on people psychologically. It did with me because of the isolation. And I think that shows that the human connection, people getting together and sharing experiences, whether it's actually directly or indirectly. Is really good for the soul. It's really good for you, for just people in general. We're generally just social beings, aren't we? So,
it's amazing that you've just gone into that bit, because my next question was going to be about, of course, the pandemic being tough on all of us, really, and undoubtedly has affected a lot of people, both personally and professionally. But as somebody yourself who works in the mental health arena, as a specialist in that area, I mean, what would you say? Can you tell us a bit about your role, and what do you think relation between music and mental health is?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really powerful thing. I mean, again, just strip it down to the bare bones of human construction. Who we are. I think we need. I think just music is a really, really powerful connector. It's a really it can lift you up. It can make you. It can change your mood. If you listen to a sad song and it kind of makes you feel a certain way, and then but equally you can listen to something like James Brown, Get On Up kind of stuff, and it gets you motivated. We know that from going out running and stuff, and you put your headphones in and you're like, right, going for a run, and you play something that's really charged and, you know, energizing. And so, you know, to me it seems like really obvious that the connection between that and and mental health is, you know, it's really strong. And I, you know, in some of the places that I've worked, you know, I've run like little music appreciation groups, and you know, where you just kind of, you sit around and you look at YouTube or something, and you're like, right, so what, you know, what song like do you really like? And then the other thing is that you can listen back to songs that are from the 60s, the 70s, the 50s, you know, where it go right back.
Yeah.
And it conjures up sort of memories and, you know, really nice sort of feelings of it's got this amazing ability to be able to take you back to that time, even if you weren't alive in that time, you know, it still makes you feel like you were there, you know, like if you listen to some jazz or something, you know, it takes you to a place even you've never been to, like a New Orleans kind of smoky bar, you know, sort of, and you can imagine what it would be like in that sort of situation. And again, what a powerful thing to do for your mental health, really, you know, to be able to you know, to have for it to have that ability and that impact and power over you, you know, it's great.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, so I've sat down with people, and then you share that, or equally the sharing of, you know, you put on a song like Rolling Stones or something, and it's like, you know, I might not have heard that song before, and then somebody else goes, oh yeah, this is like one of my favourite songs. Listen to this bit or listen to that bit, and you go, oh yeah, that's really cool. And so it inspires each other. It creates discussion, creates connection, you know. And so again, it just has multiple benefits, and creates that talking point, creates that, you know, that shared learning and shared experience, you know.
100%. Yeah, and it's so true what you say about when you listen to a song, it takes you to a different place, and almost it can take you to a different place, like what you said, in terms of being like a New Orleans bar or something like that, but also it can take you to a different part of your life, point in your life. Like when I listen to certain songs, it takes me back to that point in my life and how I felt then, and then, you know, it's just a wonderful thing, definitely.
Well, yeah, just off the top of my head, I mean, I'm hearing in my head, like, okay, when I first heard OK Computer by Radiohead, and, you know, Paranoid Android and Calm the Police and No Surprises and those kind of songs, and I'm immediately taken back to a physics lesson in school when I was there, and I remember listening to it sort of on my had like a headphone, and I was listening to it. But I also remember that my teacher in that class was a really big Radiohead fan, and, you know, I don't know why it takes me back to that memory, but it just does.
There we go.
But then I've been to so many festivals and stuff where I've seen Radiohead and, you know, watched them perform, you know, those songs, and you're like, oh yeah, that was an amazing day, yeah,
sure.
No, that's really cool.
Awesome. Well, just getting back to like you and your performances as well. Like since the world has opened up again, since after lockdown, like how have you? I know you touched upon it a bit before, but how have you found gigs and performing, and what differences have you seen maybe between gigs and like getting up there and playing now and prior to the pandemic? What have you noticed any differences there?
Just less people.
Not everyone's ready to come out just yet.
Everyone's ready to come out. Some of them are still in hibernation. Understandably, though. I mean, it's like, you know, being in sort of bigger crowds of people. I mean, I guess there's been a lot more of the shows that I kind of like are the sort of more intimate shows where people are sat down listening, you know, and paying attention, and obviously having a smaller sort of audience is always really, it's a different kind of experience, because you know, it's quite in some ways intimidating. In some ways it's just like, actually, especially when you're playing your own original stuff, it's you know, it's really nice to have people like actively listening to what you're playing, listening to every note and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Whereas the sort of cover sets, I'd expect them to. It would feel weird if I just had them all sat quietly.
Yeah.
You want to get them up and get them going.
Sometimes similarly, like with the cover sets, they're not even maybe sat there at all. Like I remember years ago playing at a place called the Ice House with my band at the time, and we played like here, and the pub went round to the other corner. They went round the corner, and everyone was sat round there, and we couldn't even see them. And we'd finish a song, and all we hear is a all we'd hear is a rippled applause. It's like, well, where are they?
Thank you.
Exactly, absolutely, yeah.
Whoever you are.
So that's.
Yeah, I mean, I've done all sorts of shows like that. Really, played all sorts of places, but I don't know. I mean, I've mainly. I haven't had a huge amount of opportunity to get out and play my original sort of sets and stuff since lockdown's lifted. So, you know, my experiences of just playing in front of people have been at, sort of different pubs and places that, you know, just get people up and dancing. I've had different experiences, really. It's kind of hard to say. Some of the places there's a lot of people, other places there's not so many, and yeah, I mean, I think it will just take time for the world to catch up, really, and get back to feeling comfortable to get back out. And there was a silly time like during lockdown where you could put on a performance, but people weren't able to sing or know, and there's that sort of stuff, and it was just like, what? That's like I don't know, going swimming and you can't do the breaststroke, you can't do the front crawl. Well, you've just got to sit there paddling.
Well, there's a complete disconnect there between people listening to music and actually going to watch music. Yeah. Because by going to watch music, you want to feel part of the performance. You want to get involved. You know, otherwise you just go sit at home and listen to it through a pair of headphones. You know.
Can you imagine Can you imagine if they tried to police that? You know, like no singing. Nope.
Brilliant.
Well.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, it's, I mean, I'm hoping things will start to return back to some sort of normal. But like I say, everyone's in their own, everyone has their own, feelings about it, and I could completely appreciate, people not feeling confident, comfortable, sort of as this, this changes, as it sort of evolves and stuff. People are just, they don't know if they're. It does send the fear into you, a sense of sort of, that you're going to get some, you're going to be wiped out for like 3 or 4 months, with like long COVID, if you just because you went to a show and sat next to somebody for so long. So
I agree. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, having the privilege of like knowing you and being a great friend for so many years.
Feelings mutual.
Cheers, buddy. If there's one thing you always are, that's busy. Like, you're always, like, I can't even recall a moment when you're not doing something or contributing in some way to, the music culture of Southampton and the industry as a whole. Of course, you work with many different, like, other organisations that you're a part of and stuff within the industry. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, again, right from moving down to Southampton about 20 years ago, I've always wanted to be, I went to a couple of the open mics and at the Hobbit and the Talking Heads, and then wanted to put on my own shows, and from that sort of got involved with the people arranging a festival in Southampton called the Access Fest, which we ran for 5 years. I've been involved in we're working with the sort of the council for like Let's Ride and and I think we did a Chinese festival, and it was just whenever I can get involved with the wider community, I really love it, and it's again, it's that additional element to music that I really enjoy and get a lot of passion out of. It's just bringing people together. I think it's a really it's a really amazing thing to do. So yeah, so I've always looked for opportunities where I can get people together, and I was trying to think about the dates. I think it was around 2016 when I started up. I heard about, I've been going to, in 2009 I went to a few shows in Winchester for an organisation called So Far Sounds, and it's like intimate experiences in unique spaces. So Winchester obviously has got some really lovely sort of houses that people host sort of shows, and then obviously some really lovely architecture and buildings that are really unique. So went to quite a few of those shows, and everyone's quiet and sit down on the floor, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is really, there's such an energy in the room because everyone's there, for the same reason. So jumping on a few years after that, I had the opportunity to be able to take over the So Far shows in Southampton. So I applied and got accepted to start running shows and started putting on monthly events in Southampton. But again, that allowed me that connection to places that you wouldn't generally get access to as just some random bloke who walks into a place and goes, oh, can I put on a show here? Because it has such a name to it, 'cause it's a global organisation.
Yeah.
It gives you that little bit of a green card to kind of get access into some of the really unique spaces that Southampton has to offer. So yeah, I got involved with that, and through that met a guy called Peter Nicholson, who has become like my closest friend. Really, he's really enthusiastic, really passionate about music, really wanting to kind of put shows on like this. So it really linked in with his passion as well. Yeah. And together, then he a couple of years down the line, he set up his own sort of company or business, something like a little group basically called Sound Level Events, where some of the places that we'd put shows on with So Far, said, oh, we'd really like a bit more regular kind of shows if you can do them. And we said, well, we can't really do that with So Far because we need to sort of keep it flowing and have different places to keep the excitement about, for the guests and for the audiences to come to like brand new places. So one main sort of place that a couple of main places that we put shows on with Sound Level Events was, and we continue to do, is at Leap Beach, which is it's called the Lookout. It's a cafe that's sort of built on some stilts that look out to the sea, and it's a beautiful place. And we've been doing regular shows there and putting on artists that we've met through So Far, and also local artists and artists obviously that hear about us and want to apply. And we've had some just really wonderful shows there. It's really, really nice atmosphere. We kind of take the sort of concept of the So Far, where everybody's quiet and listen to and appreciates the musicians. But we've had some really good following, and lots of sold out shows there, which we continue to do. But then also during the lockdown, we had Pete had a great idea to. It really, just really want to get out and put some music on, and he was like, "How can we do this like in a safe way?" So he thought about having a drive-in concert where you have the car, and the sort of distance of the car is roughly around 2 meters, and then you have everybody gets out on one side of the car, and then you have another car, obviously, and everybody gets out, so it's kind of nicely spaced. Yeah. And so another venue that we'd found through and put on some really nice shows with So Far was the Royal Victoria Country Park Chapel, which is a huge place, and it's got a lot of history to it. It used to be a place where the like ward veterans and that kind of stuff would go and get medical treatment and that kind of stuff. And so they allowed us to put on this. Well, the first UK drive-in show. So the first one in the UK, which was a remarkable achievement, and especially during lockdown as well.
Yeah, I'd say.
And we put on four shows over a period of 4 months, which were just wonderful. Like some of the best memories that I'll retain for the rest of my life. Really, it was just so nice. Sort of people, you sort of saying about people getting back out in the community, and so we did that during the pandemic. And everyone was just buzzing, just absolutely loving it, but trying to keep safe and stuff as well. But
I can vouch for that as well. Yeah,
hooting their horns, and we've got you playing, man.
I came
up for a couple of them.
I came and opened up for a few of them, and people were just so happy, and to see people like so excited to be out enjoying music after such a long time away with the pandemic, and everyone was so inviting. You could walk around the cars afterwards and have a chat with people, keeping social distance. And it was just a really well run event. And it was amazing. I remember seeing Wildfront play there, and just amazing.
Sean McGowan,
just some great artists, and it was amazing. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and then we joined up with Wickham Festival as well, and had Show of Hands play. So because Wickham Festival couldn't happen that year, it was in 2019, I think it was. So it wasn't last year. It was the year before. So that couldn't happen. So they got one of their usual headlining bands, big sort of folk band on the scene, and sold out the tickets for that straight away. And it was just really, just an amazing thing to be able to put on. Again, as I say, like playing music is one thing, but I didn't perform at any of those. It was just for the experience of putting on an event, and it's a lot of work, but it really pays off. There was a really lovely bit because there's the sort of chapel tower that you can kind of go up this sort of long spiral staircase inside, and you get right to the top. And I've got some really lovely photos of all the cars sort of turning up and parking up, and looking out across that and just being like, I've been involved in putting this on. It's great. So Pete's really inspired me a lot, and there's he's got some really great ideas and just puts them into action, which really works for me, because I'm that sort of, I like to work with other people rather than doing things on my own. But
collaborative effort.
But you kind of, again, it's that shared experience when you've kind of done something like that, and you're like, such good fun. So so the sound level, there's I ran a show called Three Monkeys for 8 years in a non-for-profit cafe called the Art House, and I think I'm hoping to sort of start something up like that again, because I feel like at the moment my sort of passion is really helping sort of, and the love of acoustic music and singer-songwriters and that kind of stuff, and there doesn't seem to be a huge amount in Southampton for that, for those kind of shows, and that give people that platform. There's a lot of bands and a lot of venues for bands and things, but to have like a nice sort of small audience, acoustic sort of places that you can go and play. I think there's a limited amount now, so it'd be really nice for the Art House to allow me to put on those kind of shows again, because they were really nice. You had like 3 singer-songwriters in a row, and then a bit like in a round kind of session over in America. They do them quite a lot in the house concerts and that, and you have one person playing at a time in a round, and again it breaks up the sets a bit, and people, the musicians are sat there like listening to other person's songs, and so it's a really nice show. So I'd like to kind of put that back on again, but that was a really good experience.
It's funny you say that, because firstly, I just want to say, after everything you've just told us that you've been doing over the years, personally, I want to say thank you for your like relentless contribution, to music and the industry, because, like I said, for as many years as I've known you, which are many, you've always been doing something within the industry, and I think you're also very underrated in terms of what you do, and I've always thought that, because the amount that you have, I know you give props to other people like Pete, and rightly so, but you've been around for years, doing these things since you were 16, as we now know, setting up shows. So it's pretty extraordinary. But why do you feel so passionately about giving opportunities and a platform to other independent artists to get out there and perform? Why do you feel passionately about that?
Well, I think it's because I just realised how difficult it is, and it's got more difficult even during my time, in the last 20 years, really, how the industry has changed, and a lot more of it now is about getting onto social media platforms and putting yourself across, selling yourself as a product almost, and trying to keep releasing, keep creating content, rather than, and I think as soon as you use the term content, you think, you obviously every song that somebody creates is an absolute, it's an absolute beautiful part of themselves, that they've put the effort and the mental ability of songwriting, being able to sit down and create something out of nothing, in terms of a story or a piece of music, and you put that out and then stick it out there on a streaming platform, and then hope, with lots and lots of marketing, lots and lots of plugging people, listen to this, that you hope that you'll get enough people to listen to that song, and then you don't get the reward for it in terms of monetary value.
No.
Which is just really demoralising, and just hard work, lots and lots of hard work, and whereas I think the shows, and giving people the ability to be able to sell their merchandise and sell their products, and there's still a need and a place for having that physical vinyl or CD, or trying to think in creative ways about how to market your product. And again, that social engagement that you get, where the people get to actually meet the band at the end and come to the record table and be like, "Hey guys, so that was an amazing performance. Can I buy your CD or your vinyl?" And that's there's still a need. There's still a demand for music performances and putting those on. And I just love seeing people, standing up on that stage and for the drive-in, and just looking absolutely, overwhelmed with joy that they're performing in front of, loads of people, and that I've had a big part in that. I've done that.
That's exactly it, because it's like in like a time where social media is so prevalent, people are constantly looking on social media, looking at other people, and they're thinking, "Oh, I want to be like that. I want to be like this." You spoke before about, like, when you were younger, trying to find your identity and stuff within music and the purpose. And I think, like, it's not only that self-gratification that artists get when they play live, but it's also what they get back from the crowd, because it makes them know that what I'm doing and what I'm pouring my heart into and creating is, like, actually resonating with people. And people aren't going to get that through a streaming platform.
Yeah.
They're going to put out there, it's like, are people listening? Are they not?
Yeah.
I'm not getting any feedback. But when you're there in front of a crowd and somebody says to you afterwards, "Oh, this night is like, it's made my month, it's made my week, what I mean? This is one of the best performances I've ever seen." Just little things like that. It's like they go home, and even from two people, they just feel like, I'm there, I'm getting there, I'm on my way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And obviously you can go and spend money and going to see, big artists in huge concerts. But, I've been to the O2 in London a few times, and you just feel like a little speck of dust in the cavernous kind of space that is the O2 arena. And, and you think, "Oh yeah, is that Yeah, I think that's the artist I've come to see. Yeah, I can just about see them. Or you're watching it on a big screen, like you just get so detached from, I mean, obviously you're around other people, everyone's enjoying it, but then you get some guy next to you who's just singing out of tune, and you're like, I haven't come to hear you, mate. I've come here, I've paid hundreds of pounds, whatever it is, to come and see the act.
Exactly.
So having that, I just fully believe, and I can speak from experience, that some of the best shows that I've been to and concerts that I've seen have been the ones that I've been involved in or that I've gone to in my local area. And you see bands like sort of Wild Front or Bash or Kitty O'Neill. The list is endless, of acts that I've just been like, wow, this is. I look around and there's maybe 40, 50 people, and you think, I've been a part of this experience, and I know this person, and I know that person, and you get the joy out of actually just being at a show and seeing people, progress and move up. I mean, this is why, with my album and stuff that I've done, I'll talk to you about that in a minute. There's there's an additional album that I did that involved like different local artists or musicians I've been involved in, and asked them if they can record some covers of my songs, because it's just like I love their music, I love their artists, them artists. So yeah, so I think I think it's just for that. It's just that love of seeing the creative process, giving people the opportunity and the platform to to express that. And I know for certain that there's been a lot of artists, in the local artists, that I've given them their first ever performance, their first ever show, and seeing them, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I can. I'm like, cool, man, that's right, you'll be all right, you'll be all right. And they get up, and then 2 or 3 years later, they're playing at the Joiners, or they're playing, it kicks them off, kickstarts their sort of music career off, and it's nice to follow them and sort of see how they progress. And it's that's just really comforting. It's just nice to know that you've had an impact on somebody's life or helped to inspire them. But then there's also, sorry Luke, I'm probably banging on now, but it's also when you were saying about the audience, and it's about, you never know who you've inspired when you play a song or something that they then go away and go, oh, I'm going to learn that song, or I'm going to pick up the guitar, or I'm going to pick up an instrument. And I have, in my sort of musical career, I have had people who have got in touch and said, like, that song that you've written is really, it really moves me, it really makes me, I put it on if I'm having a bad day, or and there's, it's just really, really lovely to kind of have that, feedback from people, and realise that you might have had a completely, in your perspective, had a really crap show, and nobody's come up to sort of say anything, or they've all just gone home, and then you kind of get a message like, maybe even a year later, and you go, oh, I was at your show like last year, and I remember you playing this song, and I still really listen to it. I listen to it every day, and you're like, cool, that's great.
No, I completely agree, and I think it's like you say, it's when you perform, like you never know how people are taking it at the time. You're like, oh, because we're also always so hard on ourselves as performers. So it's like, oh god, it's just going well. I'm feeling a little bit rusty, but at the end, it's like you never know who you're inspiring, who you're touching, who you're getting through to. And I think that's the beauty of music, and that's just what I love personally about performing. And what I also love about everything you said is you've spoken so much about setting shows up, giving opportunities. I mean, of course, the podcast is called The Independent Musician, and I think that's just an amazing kind of, it just showcases so beautifully what you can do as an independent musician. Like, you're not constricted by certain things, you have autonomy, and the ability to go out there and do what you want within the industry, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, and you always kind of hope that I think even the thing of like getting signed these days isn't the be all end all. It's about having, finding sort of independent record companies or management, that will support you on your journey, and they market you. They might sort of say, well, you would probably fit into this sort of category of music, which would then inspire this following of fans. So there's maybe this sort of certain look that you need to kind of go for. But you just hope that those people are going to have your interest in mind, and just want to support you and actually believe in you.
And if there's a piece of advice that I could give to like any like upcoming artists or people, musicians watching this, is that if you don't find that, then stay true to who you are. Like it's not the be all and end all. You just said that already. Like if you come across as somebody who says, "Oh, I want to sign you, but I want you to do this. I want you to be this. Sound like that." Nah, that's when you need to have the like ability, and like you're a perfect example of this, to say, I know who I am. I know my identity. I know what I want to create. That's not aligning with that, so no thanks. I'll carry on doing my thing. And I think that's an amazing bit of advice to give to other artists upcoming.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, just don't lose touch with who you are and what got you started playing music. Because if you start to feel that you're being led somewhere and you're ending up on just some sort of hamster wheel for to make money for other people, then or you're just a manufactured, on a factory line, then the soul gets taken away from the music, and but then equally it's really hard like myself, I've got music out and stuff, but it's really hard to kind of keep that motivation going, and the passion going when that you hope and that the songs that you write are could reach lots and lots of people, lots more people.
Yep.
And there's always that kind of drive which you have as a child, or as a teenager, that when I was listening to Green Day or some of the 90s bands, Oasis and stuff, and you see people up on and you have that big dream that maybe one day you'll get on top of the Pops, or maybe one day you'll get on the big stage, and that is it's inside you. And when you realise that you get to the age I am now, and you're thinking that didn't happen, that you can easily take that out on yourself and be like, well, maybe I just haven't tried hard enough, or
I
didn't get the big break or whatever, or always kind of thinking I wish I'd not gone into nursing. I should have just pursued my music career, and look at me, I'm so passionate about music, but why haven't I put more time into it? But I think over the years I've just kind of got to a stage where I've been like, my music's out there, it's if people want to, it's up to me if I want to market it, and I'm just proud of what I've achieved and what I've accomplished with my music.
Yeah, because ultimately you've been true to who you are, and that's the most important thing. Now we're going to talk a bit about as we start to wrap things up, a bit about your upcoming album and the stuff you might be doing on that. But you spoke a bit about like performances and your performances live and stuff like that, and how you like to get the crowd going. And I'm delighted to say we've got a performance which we're gonna move to, one that you've recorded before. It's on YouTube. Can you just tell us a bit about this performance that we're going to see, and also your kind of performance style and your inspiration that you feel when you're on stage, and how you put that through in this performance, and then we can check it out.
Yeah, well, this song is the most sort of recent one I've had recorded, so my most recent single, and it's a song called Rock and Roll Saved My Life, which I wrote back in 2000 and 6 or something. It was a long time ago, but it's always just been, it's a bit of a nod towards my love of sort of like rockabilly kind of, rock and roll kind of artists, and just like it's a fun song. It's really, really simple, but it's it's a good crowd pleaser, and so when I've played it and people have been like, "Oh, this is great," and more recently, within the last sort of 5 years or so, I've been taking sort of percussion instruments out to shows and stuff that I play, like shaky eggs and things that I hand around the audience at the beginning, especially if the So Far shows are great because everybody is in the same room, so you can kind of mug them for the eggs when they leave, so they don't nick them.
Gets a bit expensive otherwise. Yeah,
it does. Yeah. And so everybody starts like shaking things and getting involved, and it's an amazing sort of an extra connection. I mean, it's great if people like clapping, whatever, or singing along to the catchy tune. But in this way, this song really lends itself to getting people like shaking stuff and feeling really involved in the song. So I played this at a So Far show in Hastings, and it's somebody's house, and it's a beautiful place, really unique place. And I started playing it, and then everyone was getting involved, and the videos come out really, really well. Bradley Bowers from BCB Media filmed this and captured a really amazing performance. And I always put this on and watch this if I'm having a bit of a down day, because it's just again another it's not, well, it's me. I enjoy my own music, and I always think if you can't enjoy your own music and watch the stuff back and be thinking, I've done that, or that was a really fun time, then I think what's the point of doing it? But so this is a really nice memory from a few years back, getting to play a show in So Far Hastings, and it's my new single, latest single, Rock and Roll Saved My Life.
Okay, perfect. So here it is, guys. This is Steve Lowis, of course, live at a So Far show in Hastings. Rock and Roll Saved My Life. I'm buzzing to see this myself. So here we go.
This is called Rock and Roll Saved My Life. Thank you so much for having me. Well, I know my baby loves me. She tells me all the time. I've been trying to save some money. I've been working overtime. But I've been working so hard to take my baby dancing tonight. Come on, guys. Yeah! There's nothing to it, honey. You just shake your hips and jive. Well, there's nothing to it, honey. You just put your hands in mine. It sounds like I did back in 1949. Well, on Monday I was tired and sick. Tuesday blues arrived. Wednesday came and stole my heart. Thursday passed me by. But on Friday night, rock and roll saved my life. Hey! Woo! Yeah! Right, ready? On Monday I was tired and sick. Tuesday blues arrived. Wednesday came and stole my heart. Thursday passed me by. But on Friday night, rock and roll saved my life. Yeah! Well, it's time to shine. On Friday night, rock and roll saved my life. And on Friday night, rock and roll saved my life. And on Friday night, rock and roll saved my life. Big ending, come on, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everybody.
Yeah, so that was Steve Lowis, Rock and Roll Saved My Life at So Far Shows. That was, what a performance, mate. What a performance. I loved it. I loved the engagement from the crowd. You just saw some funny things in there, just like one lady was just like not even shaking the egg, just like tossing it up and down like this. And then you had,
I have no control.
No, it's
They
crazy.
just completely lose control.
And you had Pete in the corner who was like shaking. He had a shaker as well, and some other like fan-looking shaker. And just I loved that when you stopped and stripped it back and just let the crowd have do the shakers and just like the engagement. I'm so glad that people who are watching this podcast have got a chance to watch that as well, because that just shows. It kind of encompasses everything you spoke about so far about social engagement and like your performance style and what you get and give to music. That's perfect video to see.
Absolutely, it's the epitome of like everything that we just talked about. It's just that when people are equally when people are sat there quiet and listening to a real personal song, then that's really wonderful, and you get those kind of shivers down your spine moments where almost kind of brings a tear to your eye, because people are just like, you can tell they're really really captivated. But equally, like, you've got that where I get a buzz and shiver down my spine because everyone's just going, "Way!" And I'm really loving it. So it's amazing. It's just again, they're completely different styles of music. I tend to play sort of quite folky, sort of stripped back sort of stuff, but you throw a few upbeat ones in there and
for a little curveball.
Everyone's just like, oh, okay, I'll get involved in this, and they love seeing people's faces when you hand them this sort of egg and they go, and you're like, they're looking around at other people. What do I do?
Brilliant, yeah. But also just like just a little nod to like performance and stuff like that, about just letting loose when you perform. Like there's moments there where you're just like, yeah, come on, you're just like, and just like. It's not contrived. It's not set or like pre-planned. It's just what you feel and just giving it out. And I mean, I just love music, and I've seen you perform many times, and you do a great job of showing the beauty of music through your performance. This has been amazing, by the way. This podcast, I've loved. I've known you for so many years myself, and yet talking to you now at this like personal one-to-one level, and the fact that other people are going to get a chance, your fans, other people are just wanting to find new musicians and new artists and find out more about music, and going to get a chance to hear this and hear your story. It's delightful.
Well, I mean, again, feelings mutual, man. I mean, I really feel that you could actually be, involved in a podcast, because what you've achieved and stuff over the last couple of years, especially like we've been faced with a pandemic, faced with a lockdown. And then you've kind of been thinking about creatively about how to, how can I still engage with people? And you've done your YouTube channel, which I thought, gosh, okay, that's a big sort of thing to take on, but you've kept it going. And for you to do this now, it was the perfect sort of progression to you make people feel really comfortable. I really love the sound of your voice. It's you've got a lot of energy and character in yourself. So it's a real pleasure to be a part of this podcast, and I'm sure that you'll you'll do incredibly well with it. And what an amazing thing to do for, local musicians, to give them a chance to have a chat about, about their experiences and things as independent artists. So I'll definitely be tuning in
Awesome.
to each episode. So I look forward to some of the amazing local musicians that you'll be having a chat with, and different people involved in the music industry in Southampton, and hopefully, further afield.
Perfect. So, thanks for that, Steve. But before you go, can you just tell us a bit about what's coming up for you? I know you've got a new album that's hopefully coming out this year, I think. Just a quick little nod to that. I know you've been working with another independent musician in the production of this album. So yeah, just to wrap things up, that'd be great to hear a bit about that.
Yeah, so I released Chapters, which is my album, full-length album, the first full-length album that I did, and that was in 2017, and it was it was an album which was the product of lots and lots of years of writing and trying to find the right people to record with, so getting local musicians and artists and things in to come and play and perform their instruments and things on my songs and bring them to life, and like yourself with your drumming, you played on a couple of the songs, and you've joined me a few times to play live and stuff, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And again, just bringing people together. I didn't want to just be like, I'll just go in there and just add a load of computer, driven kind of instruments. It's like there's nothing better than getting people together and showing off their talents as well to create create the album, which I'm really, really proud of. So that was called Chapters, and that was in 2017, and then within the same year, there's a live version of you and I.
My biggest memory from that show was before we even started the first song, and you were like, "Welcome everybody. We're just waiting for Luke, really." Because I was still fiddling around with getting my cymbal in the right place, sorting out my percussion, and it was a great show. You can, by the way, guys, I just want to say you can check out all of Steve's stuff. There's going to be a whole host of links in the description of this video, not only to the performance that we saw earlier, but also the full performance of that on Spotify is going to be linked to this. Chapters, the album, is going to be linked to this. That live
Chapters
performance.
Recovered.
There's going to be links galore, so you can really check out Steve's stuff. But yeah, and the new album.
So so then there was Chapters Recovered, and then the new album, which was meant to be released sort of a year or so later, like an EP to go. So I created a book, which has got it's a lyric book and photo book of all the different photos and people that I've met and things that I've done, and the lyrics as well, and then a CD in the back, and then my plan was to create to get a leather bookmark and to have that so that people can put that into the book, and then there's a download code for the EP that was like an accompaniment. So that was the plan to get that recorded. I've made a start now. Again, it's just finding the right people to record with, and and obviously just have that time and the money as well to kind of do it. So so I've got an EP that I'm working on at the moment called Secondhand Books, and it's going to be sort of an EP, maybe six tracks or so, and I've already made a start on that with Johnny Moody, who's a amazing local singer songwriter and producer as well. So Mood Market Studios is it's called, and we've already made a start on some of those tracks. So I'm looking forward to cracking on with those this year and getting them out to the world. So, and then that will be that project sort of completed, so I can die a happy man. And
not for many years yet. Not for many years. But speaking of Johnny's going to be on on a future episode in this podcast. So those of you listening, look out for that one. Can't wait to talk more with Johnny about.
Absolutely, he's a lovely lad and really amazing musician. He's had lots of experiences, so you'll really enjoy that one.
Perfect. Well, Steve, like I said, I just want to say thank you again for your contribution. You're just a stand-up guy and a great musician. I hope people that live more locally can come and see you perform live. If not, people who are listening to this from far afield, then of course there's so much they can listen to you online and still see your face and your performances through the wonders of videography on YouTube and stuff like that. So, of course. You are the first, Steve. So what we're going to be doing is there's going to be the person on the podcast is going to do a question for the next person, for the next guest. So I'm looking forward to hearing your question, and that will be asked to the next guest. But yeah, just to finish off, I just want to say thank you again for being on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to seeing more performances from you coming up and this new EP, and it's all very exciting. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much. Cheers, Luke. Good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.